Can I just jump in again, Ian? Sorry. There's two things as well for me there as well. One is compatibility. So how easy is it to onboard contractors and your employees onto this? Because you obviously don't want to be wasting a lot of resources on your employees learning it or your contractors learning it, because firms, if they've got to spend more than 10-15 minutes at the computer, you're going to lose them and they're going to be pretty keen just to bob it off. And the other aspect as well is how easy is your software in terms of changes. We all know that it don't matter what industry you're in, and something will go wrong, something will change. So how quickly does your software actually change as well? How quickly can I, if I was speaking to the operations director and we've got a major change in place, how quickly does that kind of go into the permit system, and how quickly can we get that back out to let everyone know that stuff's changed and priorities have changed and so forth?
And I can answer obviously from Engage, but I think you've hit on a central point for digital systems, and I think that kind of flexibility is key. So if you're thinking about something that is pre-coded, pre-configured, this is the only format that we can use. This is to change this, we need to go back in and use some technical ability. Those kind of systems can cause immense headaches for those on site, because as you said, like no 2 days on a construction site are the same, and there's always some new challenge, right? So or any site. So yeah, I think that's something that when we think about how we look at permits, we had to build that into the core of what we do. So that flexibility has to be part of it, and I think if you're looking at any vendor, that's a really important thing to look at. That you can have templates, you can have a format by which this is the type of work that we're doing, this is the hotworks template that we use, this is the confined spaces template that we use. So you can have those things configured to make things quick and easy for distribution, but you have to have it inherent in the product that your issuing authorities have some flexibility in there to actually make last minute changes, reassign ownership of it, and that information can actually get distributed quickly to the people doing work as well. So that's where I think you need to consider both the flexibility within the system and then how that information can get distributed to the performing authorities or people doing the work. And again, where mobile can really assist with that, or even like pre-site checks and things like that again. So when you think digital, you can do a lot more before somebody comes on site and make sure it's all right. But then once somebody's on site, yes, inherently there is always changes. There's always something that comes up or crops up, and you need to have that flexibility. So that's something that we've kind of looked at how we build that into our product. But I think if you're looking at any permit system, I think that's an essential piece, because that lack of flexibility will cause really a lot of ongoing problems.
Thanks, Darren. I've got a question in here from Bruce, which I think I'll come to you on. And he says that from his experience, one of the benefits of a paper system is the facility to display a copy at point of work, making other staff aware of the work and the associated hazards. How is that going to be replicated on a digital system?
So primarily for us, we would drive that through mobile. So making sure that copies of everything gets distributed to the, you can have, again, your performing authority or designated authorities within that. So multiple people that are responsible for either, completing works or having information related to the works. So again, they're thinking about access levels and who has access to what, or how you input that information, be it simple phone numbers or emails. You can distribute that information very, very quickly, with the right technology. So typically we would look to try and drive that out via mobile so people can have it accessible, even if you're not using mobile on site. Obviously, if you're being questioned about paperwork, there's an opportunity to stop the works, go to your vehicle or go to a safe area, show the permit, depending on if it's on a digital device. And I know there was another backup there about, well, what if the digital device fails? That's always something in terms of if your battery is dead or there's no connections. So again, we'd facilitate offline, so you can save it on your digital device and you have it. But again, if your battery's dead, it's a case of, right, well, you're going to have to go back and prove that you have it and have it somewhere. But it's it's a lot more robust than a bit of paper that may blow out of your pocket or go somewhere else. So there's always pros and cons on both sides in terms of paperwork or digital. But for distributing that is quite easy when you think about mobile and the fact that that's pretty in everybody's pocket.
There is a big way to drive engagement there as well.
Yeah, I think there's a question in here which... Sorry, Rob, I'll come to you in a second just to... I'll come to you in a second just to cover this off, Rob, but I think it kind of touches on that point anyway. But there's a question from Monica here, which says that one of the challenges at the moment is with digital implementation is the within the production sites where employees do not have phones and iPads, and a notebook is the only available by managers. And just kind of, is that some of the challenges that you've seen, Rob, and how would that be overcome with digital?
I think we challenge it. We challenge what we want to do. We've traditionally always said no to mobile phones, but yet how effective are mobile phones for work? What I was going to touch on was engagement. You know, we could have a point of work risk assessment when you turn up, if it's confined space or whatever work you're doing, and then you could take a picture with your phone and you could get them to engage on that, what the hazards are. So there's a lot of possibilities there to actually utilise that.
Yeah, there's
Jennifer, what are your thoughts on that? Do your staff have access to digital devices, or is that a challenge that you see when you kind of switch to digital?
Yeah, we do have access to digital devices. I suppose especially communication between teams when they're in different parts of the building is key for us. One thing I suppose would be maybe difficult to implement, maybe not, is that we've got a lot of members of staff that have been with the business for such a long time that technology is not generally tend to be used in their day-to-day lives every day. So they're not up on how these things are used. So it would be a big training piece for us around implementing it, not just to the newer members of staff that haven't been using our system for such a long time, but to people who've been with us for, about 20 years, I'd say. So that's a big thing for us. But we do have technology in the business, and like I said before, we're quite up on what we use anyway. I think it would be quite simple to introduce at some point.
I think as well, one of the things with using digital software and using is that we can start to tie it in with like new technologies coming through. So we talk about wearable tech. How can it tie in with wearable tech? If we've got sensors there, we're seeing that a lot of the sensors for confined spaces or your PAMs or your SAMs are all kind of connected now, and you can start to feed that back into the software. And we can start to then have more proactive in terms of how we see what's coming through. You could see potentially getting slightly elevated. You could see that there's changes in the atmosphere, and that would allow us to be more proactive rather than waiting for something to actually happen and be reactive.
Absolutely, and I think it's that integration of different technologies that over time is going to be really exciting, whether it's wearables or vision, and being able to do kind of real-time hazard checking, through cameras and feeding all that back in through linking it back to permits and activities and work. And again, yeah, that's some really exciting stuff that I know we're all kind of keen to look at and develop out over the next couple of years.